Hello and welcome to Marketing in the Madness. Up today we have Perla Bloom. Perla is the global strategy lead for EA Games and leads the marketing strategies for actually one of my most favourite ever games, The Sims.
Like if you're talking to a Gen Z audience, with 2.3 billion gamers, half of Gen Z saying that they're just as comfortable in virtual spaces as they are in real life, you can have the most incredible creative idea, but if you don't put it in a space where people are there to receive it, it falls flat. Virtual experiences, which are great, to make things more accessible. The Metaverse could be used for your brand to future-proof it. I don't know if right now was the best time to actually implement that. Inequity exists just everywhere. I think I do things like Women's Ultimate Team at EA, and I've always been part of the different women's organisations to make people's experiences in these companies easier.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Hey guys, and welcome back to Marketing in the Madness, or maybe actually welcome for the first time. If you've not been here before, hello, welcome. My name is Katie Street. I am your host for this podcast, and also I hope a little bit of a marketing expert, hence I'm here. But today I am interviewing someone who I know is going to inspire you. She is full of just the most amazing energy. She happens to host her own podcast, but also be a real inspiration to other females out there, which I hope you're going to learn about with me today. So up today we have Perla Bloom. Perla is the global strategy lead for EA Games and leads the marketing strategies for actually one of probably my most favourite ever games, The Sims. I don't know if you've played The Sims. If you haven't, give it a go. I hadn't played it for quite a few years. And because I've spoken to Perla, went back and played it at the weekend. So I hope you're going to enjoy this podcast. There is lots to learn, not just about the marketing strategies and fantastic things Perla has been doing at EA Games, but also around how she's promoting and enabling other women across the world of marketing to become better leaders. Hi, Perla.
Hello.
And welcome to Marketing in the Madness in this fabulous new studio that I'm using today.
It's fantastic. I love it. I love the colours.
I know, isn't it amazing? And as another fellow podcast host, I hope you appreciate the amazing setup that we've got today.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Both me and Perla, by the way, it's super hot at the moment. Let's just date check this. Is it June? I don't even know where I am
June,
in the world.
It's hot, it's humid. It was raining this morning, so I was really caught off guard. I got my jacket when I did not need it, and this is, I hope the sweat isn't visible, but here we go.
Darling, you look beautiful. So before we dig into everything we need to know about the world of marketing and the fantastic things that you're doing at EA Games, since we last spoke, you've had a job change. So tell me, so Perla, I have been lucky enough to have on another, it was another podcast that we did, or was it a webinar? I think it might have been a webinar we did, around kind of, I think every year I've done something for International Women's Day, and this one was one of my favourites. So thank you for joining.
No, thank you. It's fab.
Thank you for coming back. So tell me about what you're doing now and what you want.
I started in agency side. So I was in creative agencies before. I worked on things like Virgin Media, PayPal, random, like luxury brands like Garrard, which is the company that created the crown jewels. So just really random little tidbits. And then I wanted to move on to a bit more brand strategy. So I moved to do that. And then COVID hit, redundancies hit, and I ended up in media, which I'd never done before. But it was actually it's so cliche, but it really was the best thing that could have happened, because without that and without that stint in media, I wouldn't be where I am today, because my manager found me on LinkedIn because I had exactly that. I had experience in creative and in media. So I learned about, what goes into, the creative, and also where and how we deliver it, which is really fun. And that's kind of what I do now. So I started at EA Games on Battlefield and also some EA original titles. So it was a Japanese hunter game I worked on called Wild Hearts, which I loved. And I did everything from, helping out with brand strategy, doing the creative campaign strategies, and also connections planning, or in the UK it's called comms planning. And then, an opportunity came up on The Sims to do just comms planning, and honestly, I jumped at it. Number one, I love The Sims. number two, I love that kind of love story between media and creative. It really excites me. I really love to think about, I'm from a psychology background, like at the base of it. So I love thinking about the different mindsets people are in different places at different times. So I really get to lean into that, which is cool.
Yeah, oh my God, I love that. And do you know what? It's so rare. Well, I say it's so rare. Not necessarily. I get to interview some amazing people on this podcast, but it's really great to have someone who really respects and understands, the kind of blend of the different spaces and how it works together. Certainly in larger corporations, often you see people are put into silos. So it's
ridiculous, isn't it?
It is crazy because, and I've been lucky or unlucky enough to work in creative agencies that don't really think about what, they do beautiful work, but they're not thinking about the psychology of why.
It's also nothing without where and how you put it. Like, you can have the most incredible creative idea, but if you don't put it in a space where people are there to receive it and where they even are, then it falls flat. And then vice versa. If you have the most amazing placements, but your creative isn't cutting through to those people, it's really, like, it frustrates me because like, I love that. Just, it's so stunning when, like, you just see the greatest idea in the greatest place at the right time. Like, I think, like, Beavertown does this really well. Lots of, like, Jacques Mousse does this really, really well. Like, just really, wow, incredible surprise and delight moments for those audiences.
Yeah, but you've got to understand the audience first. And I think that's where lots of, and you obviously will have a view on this as well, having been agency and client side, but lots of agencies, they're definitely getting a lot better, but that I was at years and years ago would forget that strategic element and the importance of the psychology and how to connect with the audience and just go with the big bang idea.
And just hanging on to that idea, like, oh, it's cool, like, it's a really cool idea. But it's like, well, is it what they need though?
Yeah.
Like, you have to think about what your audience needs and what they actually want. And that is something that, especially in gaming, like, it's a very product focused industry. So now gaming companies, they know that they're up against big entertainment companies. So we have to think about ourselves as a brand, not just a product. So it's like, what do we stand for as a brand? How do we add value as a brand? And who are our audiences outside of the game and outside of the product page? A lot of times I'll see people, well, we know that that they clicked on this, and this. So we know a lot about them. It's like, but who are they? What makes them feel passionate? What kind of families are they in? What do they talk about with their friends? Like, you need to understand and paint a real picture of who they are.
Yeah, and understand exactly what their motivations are.
Yeah, so you can do it throughout the ecosystem. Because like, knowing what they clicked on is definitely going to help us do a sweet little, bumper ad on YouTube to get them to click and convert. But what about that brand building at the start of the ecosystem, at the start of the funnel? Like, we need to understand who they are at every point, really.
Yeah. I'm going to ask some brutal questions now.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, I'm not. But I don't know how much you're going to want to share, but, I have to ask. So, obviously, you can relate this to Battlefield or to Sims.
Yeah. As long as you don't ask me when things are coming out.
No, don't worry. I won't. And do you know what? I haven't played Sims for ages, and you're really making me want to play it now. Cause
it's free now.
It was my favourite game when I was younger.
Free to play.
Okay, well, there we go. So, objectives, your marketing objectives, I'm guessing around acquisition, but also around, nowadays there's so much more.
Depends on the project.
Yeah. So what are your key, I guess, your key objectives, or what have they tended to be?
Two things. Well, that's a really interesting one. I'll tell you why, because it's like every game and every situation is so different.
Yeah, of course.
So ultimately, of course, we're trying to acquire new players. We want, to not break away from, sorry, edit that out. We want to expand on the players that we already have. And sometimes we want to surprise and delight players. So an example of that, so like Battlefield, for example, like for our big launch campaign, obviously we wanted to acquire new players, but then there have been moments like seasonally when we have what we call live service. So that just means that we change up the experience inside the game every season. And that we know is going to primarily hit the people that are already playing. So then you have to think about, how do we keep them engaged and surprise and delight them when they are so smart and they kind of can guess what we're going to do anyway. And this wasn't my work, but I have to mention Apex Legends because they did some brilliant work a few years ago. Because it basically, in the game, you can find from the code what's going to come next, because the developers have coded it into the game. And those really savvy, there are some gamers who, you know, for clout or for fun, they'll go in and say, guys, I think this is going to be the new character, this is going to be this, that, and this, you know, all over Reddit. And then it kind of ruins all of our marketing plans. But on Apex, they did the most incredible thing. Like, they had, for the first time ever, Apex Legends, is a first-person shooter hero game. So it's very character-focused. Mm-hmm. And for season 4, there was the first anti-hero. And also they were seeing that they were kind of mining in the code. So they were like, okay, cool. How do we surprise and delight these players? And how do we really make a huge impact? So they actually coded the wrong character, a fake character in the game. And then on a YouTube trailer, and that's where gamers really come and they know that you're going to announce something really big when we put it on YouTube. They essentially got they were interviewing the fake character, and the real character came and killed him on live, like a live show. And that was the real character, Revenant, who was the evil character. So that's the way, like, I love the fact that we've understood how our core players are using the channels, and then we can use it to surprise and delight them. So sorry, I feel like I've gone way around your question, but essentially...
You're surprising and delighting me, Perla. That's
I'm so happy to hear it. Thank you. But yeah, it really, it's not just a simple, like, and I think this is the same in every industry. Like, it's not simple like, oh, we want more players, we want Gen Z. You know, you hear that classic, or now Gen Alpha. You know, it's like, I want this to change this behavior. I want them to view us like this. How do I want them to think, feel, and what do I want them to do? That's what's important to kind of figure out.
Yeah, exactly. What's the action I want them to take? What and why?
Yeah.
Also, as well, I think that's absolutely key for brand, to really understand.
And then what journey do I want them to take?
Yeah.
So it's that, like, science and art, and that's what I do. It's my job.
I love that. But you can tell that you've got that kind of, you've got a really interesting mixture, because you've got the psychology, you've got the artistic, you've got the kind of real kind of business laser focus in terms of results and KPIs. So I think it's super interesting.
Oh, thank you.
So you've already kind of answered one of my questions, because
no.
I was going to ask you about some of your favorite campaigns. Which you've talked to me about Apex, but tell me...
Apex wasn't mine,
yeah, that's fine. But one that you respect, and that is one of the kind of key questions that I ask people, and why. But in terms of the things that you've implemented and the things that have been the most impactful, tell me, and it can be from any of your roles, tell me about one of the things that you've really enjoyed working on that maybe has surprised and delighted you.
I think the first and foremost, I think I mentioned this briefly before, but on Battlefield, it's the seasonal work. So we're able to foreshadow the next season. So you've got to imagine that we're targeting active players and lapsed players. So we make something happen in the game that the active players are going to talk about on different forums like Reddit and Discord, etc., which will then in turn get back the lapsed players. So we can basically use the game and our core players as a channel. And on, I think it was season 2, we put random big creators on the game that was related to the big narrative story, and then the player would click on it and it would kind of lead them to, it would give them a player card which gives them information and hints about what's to come, so it's keeping them engaged until we actually launch the season. I think, God, what was the other one? We had, this was cool, so on, I think it was season 5 of Battlefield, we had a kind of social post that was Morse code. So it was just kind of like appointment setting, the trailer, and behind you'd hear Morse code, and it would tell the players to go into the game, which would lead them on to like another little story or something that would give them a hint about what the next season was. So there's really cool stuff that you can do, and it's like visual, it's audio as well. We've got radios in the game, so there's really a lot of little touch points to play with in the game. Outside of gaming, when I was working on Virgin Media, it was the year that they were sponsoring the BAFTAs, and it was really about, and this was before COVID time, which is why I really like it, because it was such a great integrated campaign, and the whole kind of premise of that campaign was about bringing the red carpet to the audience, whether they were there or whether they were at home. So we kind of put things in place both at the actual BAFTAs and at home for that to be the case. So essentially at the BAFTAs, it was the first use of the 360 camera, you know, when you look like kind of from all angles and it looks like you're actually on the red carpet. So for people at home, they could then view and walk down the red carpet themselves, because they also had Google Cardboards, which was very innovative back in
I know. What happened to those? Yeah.
Yeah, so embarrassing. At the time, that was like really like...
We thought they were going to be the future, didn't they?
100%. Yeah, we definitely did. But like it worked. Like it made people feel like they were actually on the red carpet. And we also gave direct mail to the people that were going to the BAFTAs with ways that they could share their experiences with different lenses, like fisheye lens, etc. on there, just so that they could add on to their phone. So it doesn't even need to be expensive. But yeah, we kind of had this great integrated campaign where we gave this experience to people that not just were there, but were at home as well. So it will always be like a firm favourite of mine.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if I could be at the BAFTAs, I would be incredibly happy.
Yeah, same.
And I think that's the thing with all of the campaigns that you've mentioned. What I love about them, and actually in particular, the stuff that you've been doing at EA Games, is how you're almost gamifying your marketing, which is super interesting. You don't actually see that many brands doing that. You're doing what you do, within the game.
It's like micro experiences.
Yeah.
So the thing you're experiencing in the game, you're bringing it out of the game to bring them back into the game. Because my job is to get people into the game.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same as what you did with the BAFTA, that campaign. I think, you can totally see your kind of psychology background, and it's so interesting, and no wonder you're flying and doing so well.
Oh, thank you. Well, it came from like we were watching also. I remember now like getting all these flashbacks because we used it to brief the creatives, like these videos of people that crashed the BAFTAs. So we just knew that people really wanted to go, and they were highlighting all the bits that they really loved about it. So then it made us able to kind of dip into those things and bring it to them and get that insight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you do. You want to feel involved with anything you're doing, and I think that's what's great about I guess running marketing in the gaming world specifically is it is something that we're all very involved and engaged with. I mean, I don't game as much as I should do. I definitely think I need to have. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to have time, but it gives you that. It helps actually you be more creative because it makes
really
you
does,
think.
Especially The Sims.
Yeah.
Like on different.
Do you play
things. The Sims? Yes, I do. Yeah. Do you know what? I
could create my perfect life, like the life that I want to have.
You want to do the opposite, though. You want to bring in a perfect life, and then you want to just make it into chaos. That's what's fun about it. So it's like so fun to see this like little nuclear family, and then you just smash everything up. Get somebody to rob them, make them have an affair. All lovely stuff. Things that you can't express in real life, like you get to express yourself in The Sims, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, The Sims, honestly, literally was... I reckon the game that I play, I mean, apart from like Mario Kart, maybe the game that I played the most when I was younger. So
I love Mario Kart, Mario Party, great game.
So many good ones. And oh my God, I mean, you probably won't remember this, but there was one called Alex the Kid, which was like on the Mega Station or so, I can't remember. Anyway, going way back. But what I wanted to pull out, another thing that I talk about a lot on the podcast is, I guess, that unfairly, but still is that we work in still a very male-dominated world. Now, I would say in your space, probably even more so.
Oh yeah, of course.
Than some of the other, sectors that are out there, like fashion. You'd think maybe be the opposite.
Even advertising, just generally. Yeah.
So how does that play out, or have you ever experienced challenges? Is there, leading and doing everything that you do you come up against, is it fairly male dominated? Do you come up against any challenges from that point of view?
Hang on, I can't talk about specific challenges.
No.
I'm thinking like,
I like that. I want to say this real thing that just happened last week. But no, I mean, I'm going to ask the mean questions, Perla.
I've had just as bad, or not bad. I've had the same kind of experiences in marketing agencies as I've had in gaming. Like inequality, inequity exists just everywhere. I think it's funny when people shine a light on specific industries when I actually think it's everywhere, and it's not just. And it's not just women, it's also different backgrounds, different religions, different skin colours, different abilities. Like, we're not seeing any of it. in, you know, the fact that I'm seen as being diverse as a white woman in gaming is like, that's a problem. Like, I'm not that diverse, you know, like, and I, more than anything, like, I really, really want to improve, because it's not just about bringing people into these companies, it's also about making them feel empowered to achieve the best work of their career. And that's why sorry if this is going to come up in another question, but this is why I do things like Women's Ultimate Team at EA, and I've always been part of like the different women's organisations, just because I want to do my bit, or, you know, a little bit to make people's experiences in these companies easier. Like, if I just make one woman's life easier from sharing my experience, or running a webinar, helping with, you know, different professional skills, or how to manage upwards, or even education. Like, we ran a big kind of fireside chat with somebody, an Iranian British person, who talked to us about what's happening to women in Iran. So bringing that kind of information and creating a space for us all to speak and have kind of that community feel within EA. There's been great, like, and I will continue to do that in every kind of company I work for. And when I do eventually get, you know, a bit senior and things like that, I really will, like, I really, really don't want to just kind of come to the top and like enjoy it and then not open any doors for anyone else. Yeah,
you're not just paying lip service to it, you're actually proactively making an
I'm
effort.
trying. I could be doing more, but I'm definitely trying.
Yeah. Tell me about, so women, sorry, I'm going to say this wrong now, Women's Ultimate Team, is that a initiative?
On,
yes.
Like, on FIFA.
So tell me, is that an initiative that you've come up with, or EA Games? Tell me a bit more about it.
It's an employee resource group, so I'm part of the steering committee. And whilst I haven't created it, but I have, I've kind of been jumping into leading these fireside chats. It'll be me interviewing, me organising, me kind of creating a space for these events. So that's kind of my bigger focus, because I use the things that I know I'm like good at. I know I like public speaking. Now I do. I mean, before I didn't, but I know I like to practice my public speaking. I know that I'm really resourceful. Like, when I meet people, I remember them, and I know when to bring different people in. I'm good at spotting opportunities, so I kind of try and lean into what I'm good at to see if it can help other people. So that's how I've kind of adopted that role in the organisation.
Yeah, it's so good though, because I think there's so many amazing females out there that don't put themselves forward, and I talk about this a lot, you know, with varying different, you know, people across varying different sectors and different industries. But at the end of the day, if we don't shine a light on it, and we don't talk about it, and we don't make an effort,
or create a space to talk about it,
it doesn't happen. And I think, you know, lots of people don't really realise or understand that this is still something that we do need to talk about. And I think as women, we often, I'm just going to put it out there, we have these kind of limiting beliefs, I think, that, and actually the guest that I interviewed previous to you today, amazing inspirational woman, but she highlighted something that is so true, and I think I've spoken about this before, but women often will only go for a job if they've got something like 80% of the skills needed. Men, it's something like 20 or 40%.
I know. I've tried to adopt this like male mindset, and also the way I call it, like, I try and be delusional, like really delusional.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the people that used to go on X Factor and audition when they like,
that's so bad.
Yeah, I'm delusional. Like, you have to be delusional to like reach your dreams, basically, which is so cheesy, but it's true. Like, even if I don't think I'm qualified at all, I do just apply for the job.
I love that. Advocating delusion. But that is so, because I do think our male counterparts do that. They like,
and I don't even think they're delusional, they're just confident to do it. Like, I feel extremely uncomfortable when I am delusional, but I have to force myself to do it. And I always convince my friends when they're like, oh, I haven't, you know, it says this many years experience. I said, like, I've never, ever had the number of years experience for a job ever that I've applied for, ever.
Likewise.
And like, just apply. Apply. I don't care if it's just like CEO.
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
But I think that's so true. And I do think women are not as good at doing that as men are.
Yeah.
So we've got, you know, we're nailing this now, because hopefully there's going to be someone listening that goes, do you know what, I wasn't going to apply for that, but I'm going to.
They've been socialised to think that. And I think it's also like being introvert versus extrovert. I think that's also a huge problem in the workplace. Like, people that are loud get listened to, but often like introverted people have quite a lot to say. But it's just kind of not, you know, and things like public speaking are really championed, and some people really hate that, like really hate that. I mean, I did hate that, to be fair, and I tried really hard to like not hate it, and now I kind of don't hate it. But it's kind of hard that you kind of have to make yourself extrovert when maybe you're not, just to succeed, basically.
And that transcends gender and everything. I think I kind of treat this like I do with our clients when we're running marketing initiatives, and not every business that we, and because we're in B2B, I'm always trying to kind of humanize the marketing tactics that we push out. But not everyone is a great public speaker. Not everyone is a podcast guest or host. Not everyone, some of the people that we're working with, we need to use different tactics. So I think it's the same. Like,
and
if you're
understand who they are. I think it's also like, I really like this idea. I can't remember what framework it is, but when you have the different colours in your signature?
There's a few different ones. So I've done a couple of these actually. There's Insights, there's then Myers-Briggs, but that picks out your personality traits and can kind of map you against. In fact, we use, because we do a lot of B2B marketing, and we're usually trying to contact a head of marketing or whoever it might be for a client, that we can actually see their preferences and how they want to be spoken to. There's a really clever little platform. Go and test it out.
I will,
and listeners as well, called Crystal Knows. It's a plugin. I think you get something like 20 free credits.
Okay.
It plugs into LinkedIn, and if you want to reach out to someone, I don't know, for whatever, whether it's to win new business with them or just get to know them better, it will tell you how to talk to them, what their personality profile is. If you want to sell something to them, how you should position yourself for sales. So there's so many interesting things that you can do now to really better understand your prospects
and who you're trying to communicate with. And then also like things like how they like to brainstorm, or how they like to come up with ideas. Like, how some people are just much more comfortable with putting their hand up when there is like a brainstorm. They like to just kind of say the first thing that pops into their head, whilst other people are more considered. I'm the one that just says whatever pops into my head, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah, but you have to account for that. Like now I really try, and like my Miro boards, like if I'm doing something globally, I do an exercise for right now, and then I try and provide an exercise for later on. So I'm like, cool, now we'll go back and we'll have 2 days to kind of think about the workshop we've just had, and you can go back and vote for what you think is like your favourite thing that we spoke about.
Love that.
And even add notes.
Yeah, I'm so stealing that Miro board.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just, well, you have to. Like, I think especially in gaming, like, I know it's such a cliche again that like, I've met a lot of more different people, like in agencies, everyone's quite extrovert, but I'm working with just a lot of different personality types, and often I get like no answer to something, or like I'm not getting the response that I'm used to getting in workshops, for example. And I have to think like, okay, why is that? Have I asked the question in a weird way? Do they know what their role is in this meeting and what I've actually asked them to come in for? So how like, obviously I put in an agenda, but I also try and try and contact everybody who I know I want something from in the workshop. Like, you're here for this, you're here for this. And I say, like, just to let you know, I've asked you to come because I really need your expertise on that. Would you mind being like the spokesperson for that kind of area of the business in this workshop?
I love that.
And I've tried to do that.
But do you know what? It is, you're really making me think about how, I mean, I've probably got a lot of people in my team who are quite extroverted and similar to me, but creating that inclusive culture, again, transcending gender and everything else around, it's not everyone wants to speak up, and there will be some people that speak up, usually me probably, that speaks up more than others.
Same, I'm so loud and it really annoys. I'm like, God, it's always my idea on the front of the thing, but I'm like.
But other people have got great ideas.
Incredible ideas.
And giving them, whether it's a Miro board or another kind of platform, if they're not confident enough to put their hand up and speak in the meeting, another way of submitting their ideas so they get heard. I loved that.
I've only just started doing it. I'll let you know if it works.
Yeah, but I think that's great, because like I say, not everyone's as bullshit confident as we are. So giving them platforms and different ways of engaging and having their voice heard is super, super important.
Yeah, for sure. It's just inclusivity. Yeah,
I love it. Love it. Right, got a couple more questions before I go. First up, what's your podcast about and how can people find it?
It's Think Twice podcast.
Yes.
It's the pink one, if you are on Spotify, like looking for it. And it's basically an entertainment, tech and marketing podcast that is, our mission is to just help newbies or people that want to get into entertainment just generally, learn more about how to do it, get inspired by the different pathways to it, and find their voice when they get there as well. So we do that by interviewing lots of different people that are really senior in entertainment. Like we've had someone from the BBC, we've had someone from EA, we've had someone from publishers like High Snobiety, Vice, those kind of places, like really, really big dogs and done incredible things. But what they all have in common is they have slightly diverse ways to the top. So it's really being basically showing people that yes, it is possible to, even if you've started an X career and done this, like you can do it. Because I just am so sick of like how exclusive entertainment brands are for people to work at, and you often see the same faces, just as we mentioned. Like I got lucky, and I hate when people use this expression, but I fell into it. I love entertainment, but I got my first gig in entertainment from my manager finding me because I did media, and like not everyone's so lucky to get something like that. So I really want to try and help people get into careers like that, and from people from different backgrounds. So we're trying anyway.
Yeah, but I think there isn't one route to the top. I think, like you said, like we were saying earlier, you think that you've got to have ticked all these boxes, and you don't apply for the job otherwise. I've always applied for jobs where I haven't had, like, you must have a degree. I haven't got a degree.
And sometimes I've got the interview, I'm like, whoa, really?
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, I know. How did I get in?
Another thing on the podcast as well is we try and make different confusing things that are talked about in the industry more accessible.
Yeah.
So things like the Metaverse. We do an episode on it, and somebody that literally has no experience can listen to it, and it's in layman's terms, and they just understand like what it is and why it's useful. Yeah,
the Metaverse though is definitely, especially as you're in the gaming world, something that I nearly forgot to talk to you about. But I definitely do want to talk to you about. So of course, I'm not going to specifically ask about EA Games plans with the Metaverse.
Yeah, keeping my job.
Yes, exactly. Not too mean. But there's so much opportunity out there. Now, I actually did a webinar at the end of last year where I hosted it as an avatar in the Metaverse, which was quite cool.
What platform was it?
Oh my God, now I can't remember. We
like
worked
Roblox?
with no, it wasn't Roblox.
But similar to that, like different, you have like different rooms within this.
Yeah, exactly. So we moved around, we had like a gallery, we hosted a talk in an arena. It was really cool. And it was great because people were getting involved. It was very engaging.
It was accessible.
It is accessible. And I think that's what's exciting. Now, I'm not asking for, like I say, EA Games' view on the future of the Metaverse, but how do you see, and let's not just keep it about gaming businesses, but businesses being able to use this in the marketing world?
So it's a very interesting question, and it's interesting because obviously we're still in Web 2, so it's really hard to kind of foresee what's actually going to happen. Like I've got my own opinions on it, and obviously, we've had different companies come forward with a lot of technology that we didn't know was so advanced, like the Apple Vision Pro that came out, was it a couple of weeks ago now? So we know that kind of VR and AR technology that is needed to kind of get to that point of what the Metaverse could be is kind of coming. Is it accessible to normal people? No, it's $3,000 a pop at the moment. So got to think about that. It's really important to think that we're currently not in a great economic state. So let me go back to the beginning. So essentially right now, what we have and what makes up the components of the Metaverse that we have in Web 2 is virtual environments. Like you were talking about, these virtual experiences, which are great, to make things more accessible, to let creators reach a more global audience, for representation, for accessibility, all of the rest of it. Like it's a really great thing, virtual spaces. The one thing I would think about obviously is there another way? Is that what your audience actually wants?
Yes, great question.
As we were talking about, like you should never look at a piece of tech or the cool new thing and think, how can we get our brand into that? It's not about that. It's about like, why is my audience motivated to engage with my brand and use my product? okay, once you've answered that, you're like, okay, does this technology enrich that experience? And then when you've answered that, are we in a great economic climate? Is that going to be accessible for my audience? And are these behaviors that they already exhibit, are they already in the virtual space? Like if you're talking to a Gen Z audience, with 2.3 billion gamers and, half of Gen Z saying that they're just as comfortable in virtual spaces as they are in real life, you can kind of probably understand that maybe your audience is in that space, but is your brand currently something that they want to spend money to experience in that space? Maybe it's not. So you've really got to think about that. And then the other bit of the metaverse and the technology that exists now is digital collectibles, so crypto technology. And that's essentially enabling us to actually own these things that we thought we owned before in different gaming environments, but you actually own them. And then more importantly, it allows you to engage with the different community members within that space and co-create with them. So we've seen that with Nike.swoosh. They've done like a great platform where people can co-create different, the future of Nike, they call it, and they can also earn money for it. So they're literally owning a stake in the business. And why it was so powerful for Nike to do it was, of course, like their audience probably already has like a crypto wallet, but also they come from a long history of Nike fans who have had the opportunity and who have expressed wanting to create their own Nike merchandise.
Yeah.
I remember creating the most ugly Nike shoes of my life, like when I was a teenager, and getting them, delivered to me. I was able to personalize them. I don't know why, because I'm not a designer. But now they've taken that to another level, and they don't have to do it on such a kind of one-dimensional way. They can do it in a constant way, and they can also, really engage with their community whilst they're doing it. So again, Nike chose to do this because their audience they had a crypto wallet. It was already something they were doing. It was leaning into behavior they were already doing. And Nike is something you do want to co-create with. So basically, it was a very long way of answering. I think definitely think about how the metaverse could be used for your brand to future-proof it. I don't know if right now, if it doesn't lean into your audience motivations, wants, needs, if now is the best time to actually implement that. Just think about what they can afford and don't kind of make your brand too premium when you're trying to acquire new consumers. It's really about what the audience wants, what kind of, what does society want right now? And is it necessary? Is there a way I can do this better in another way? But regardless, even if the answer is no right now, it's good to future-proof and good to keep it in mind for when maybe technology becomes more accessible or something changes within the audiences that you're trying to target.
I think that's key, isn't it? If it's not right for your brand right now,
yeah,
don't lose sight of it. Still keep an eye on what's going on, because even though it may not be right for your audience today and not the right platform for you to use right now because it's not really talking to the needs of your audience or whatever, you still need to know about it. So definitely, that's what's so hard about being in marketing, right? You've got to have eyes on everything. You've got to be looking at the new platforms. You've got to be understanding the innovations, which is kind of what I try to.
It's hard. My friends always call me like their resident Gen Z, because I'm always on TikTok and stuff, and they're like, obviously I really enjoy it. I'm not going to pretend that I don't
it's so addictive.
But I do it because I know that I have to for my job and to really do my job well, and I will always have to try and stay young at heart no matter how old I get. Basically, it's my big aim in life. Like I really just throughout my career never want to be the person at work that doesn't really know what's going on. And also like tech really interests me. Yeah. So I'm always naturally kind of reading up on it anyway.
Yeah, it has to. I think we've got, as marketeers, it is our job to be inquisitive, stay inquisitive and stay open to viewing. And I'm
curious.
Yeah, so keen on that, looking at the new technology. I mean, it's hard because there's so much to look at, but understand the ones that are going to help and impact you the most, and keep looking at them.
But keep looking at them, even if the answer is no now. Just shelf it, have like a nice brainstorming session, put some lovely little ideas on the side for maybe when, that Apple Vision Pro isn't £3,000. I know, and also I read a really interesting article about that, of like fashion and how people like to look good. and they don't look good at the moment. So will it be that we socialize this kind of look to be cool in fashion, or will they become something a bit more palatable fashion wise? So there's a lot of different things that will it's like the price point, but also like natural ways to kind of integrate it into our lives. Because also at the moment, like there's no real use case for it.
No, I was going to say it doesn't feel like there's a natural need.
I don't want Zoom to encompass, like to take up all of my living space. Like I'm fine with it being on my little screen. But they'll get there. I think we saw this with the Apple Watch, like when the last time they got into a new category, and they didn't really create a good use case for it for 5 years. No one was buying it. So I think exactly now they have. And I think that, you know, people are laughing now. People are looking at £3,000, blah, blah, blah. Like, but I think that what they're showing is a real proof of concept. I think they knew that the average Joe wasn't going to buy this product, but what they're showing is, hey, we're leaders in this space. Don't count us out. Like, we're probably going to be big leaders of the, you know, quote unquote metaverse.
And I think that's, just to go back to the Apple Watch piece, is what we, and I think this will be the same with this, is that what we thought we were going to use Apple Watches for, you know, I remember working in a really big digital agency and thinking that we were going to be like browsing the web on our watches, which is of course not how we were trying to like design for the Apple Watch, but that's not how we use it at all. It's very, very different. But we didn't know that, you know, 5, 10, I can't even remember how many, this probably was about 10 years ago, you know, when you know, Apple Watches first came into the market. It's not what we, you know, today, how we interact and use them for is very different to what we thought about them. And
I think that was also like a big, there's been a real health and fitness kind of trend. So who knows what will come up. Like I think my prediction, it's probably wrong, who knows, but I do think there'll be a big crossover with entertainment in some way.
I agree.
I just don't know how that will come to be yet.
It's how we're going to personalise, humanise, utilise this to bring people together.
It has to make the experience better. Like it can't be just tech for tech's sake. It always has to make it better.
It has. There's got to be some level of improvement, whether that's personal, social, whatever, I don't know.
Agreed.
Got to be there. Perla, I've got one last mean question. I really feel like I should prep my guests for this because I always leave you going, oh my goodness. No, it's not a mean question.
I'm glad it's not live.
And I think you're going to have, because you interview such great people on your podcast, I'm sure you're going to have some great recommendations for me. So I'm obviously always looking for people to come on the show and talk about what's next, innovative things you know, that they're doing. Obviously, you're interviewing a lot of great people, but is there anyone that you look up to that you think would make a great guest for me to invite on Marketing in the Madness?
Do you invite people from other places in the world? Do you ever do virtual?
We do virtuals.
Laurel Stark. She is group creative director at The Sims, and she is brilliant.
Yes,
she's just won a very prestigious award.
Has she? Go on.
Adweek 100.
Amazing.
And she's creatively incredible, but she's also like doing everything she can to open up the industry to get other faces in there. And that's why I just really look up to her. Like I'm just kind of so on board with her mission in every way.
Oh, I love that. I'm totally, I'm going to ask for an introduction. Maybe I can even, where is she based? In the States?
In LA.
In LA.
God, I don't know. I need to like fact check that.
Maybe I can even, I make sure I fly out there.
I think she is in LA,
So no, that would be great.
I've never even met her.
No, but she clearly is someone that you look up to, and that's exactly what we
she's
want.
Amazing.
Amazing. Perla, thank you so much for joining. I've loved it. I feel like I could have chatted for so much longer.
Same.
But a huge thank you. And I'm going to talk to you now about MadFest.
Okay.
Fab.
Brilliant. Watch the space, everyone.
Watch the space.
Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you did, I want to ask you a really big favour because it will help us reach and help more people. Can you head over to Spotify and or Apple Podcasts and give us a little 5-star review? On Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a little comment about what you love. I love to hear from you. We're only a few weeks into launching the podcast and we've already had some fantastic reviews. I love hearing from you. Please, any tips, anything you want more of, less of, feel free to put it there in the comments. But a big thank you. Do go give us a follow and I hope to see you back here very soon.